So I'm going to be building the Hudson. Whoopee! So I've already got the front fenders and the grill shell there roughly assembled, and I really think that the feasibility of this whole project is going to be determined by how that piece fits onto the chassis here with regards to the wheel width, distance from there to there. So I think what I need to do first is to get this onto the chassis so we can see how it fits. Somebody is at my door.
Help has arrived.
It's my neighbor Arnold, and he brought reinforcements.
Yes.
And you are now on YouTube.
I am.
Because I'm recording you.
Oh.
Say hello, people.
Let's fit this thing. Make this go-kart go.
So push. You don't get to visit me without being put to work. No problem.
No sweat, no problem.
No problem. Hey man, you scratched my trailer.
Again.
Again.
It was under supervision. So
As long as it's under supervision. As you see,
Thank you guys.
this is working.
So Arnold and Alberto came to borrow my trailer, and they've left again to go and pick up something. At least I got the cap off of the trailer as part of that deal. Yeah, so following that little interruption, let's see what it's going to take to make this work. So this thing is not sitting perfectly, and it looks like it has to move that way a little bit. But at least I can see that the wheels are fitting in under the fenders. So width-wise, it looks like we'll be cool. Obviously, these are not the tires that I'm going to be using in the end. I'm just checking things out now to get a feel for it. Yeah, we're not lining up here with the wheel arches. So this all needs to move back some. But currently it's catching on the frame. In some spots I'll show you just now. So some surgery will be required. I've got it resting on these wooden blocks here, just to get it to sit more or less level, or how it should be. So right here is one of my problems. I can't move further back because this is catching against that original engine mount. And if you can see the steering box here, that's fouling against this piece of sheet metal here, so I can't move this that way, and it does need to go a little bit that way. So I'm going to have to cut all of this away to provide some clearance here. As far as the height of this above the wheels, or this gap here, I actually want to put this thing on air suspension and run airbags. So it means we will be able to do this. Let me just get this little jack going. I undid the torsion bars, so I can now do this. Let's see what happens. Yes, man. You see here that I undid the torsion bars completely. There's normally a bolt that sits in here, and then that screws into a threaded part on this cross member, so you can kind of adjust it. If you want to know more about these torsion bar type front suspensions that you got on these little mini trucks, I'll put a link here up on the screen. You can go check it out. Yeah, maybe a little difficult to see now, but the frame is as far down as it will go. You'll see this stop here. That bottom wishbone is tight against it, so it can't go down further. I'm planning to cut the stop out completely, so then the frame or the chassis will be able to drop down even more. So that's something that I want to do in the future. And you know what, with the way the tin work is sitting now, I can still get about 4 fingers in here between the top of the wheel and the fender itself. So yes, we can afford to drop down even more, given this rim diameter, of course. Or rather tire diameter, not rim diameter. So I've taken the fenders off to see how I'm going to attach this grill shell. It's currently hanging from the roof and resting there. Now these look like the original mounting points, so I'm going to have to fashion a bracket here of some sorts. I've already provided temporary or preliminary clearance cuts here for the steering box. I had to do some cutting down here so I could move this further aft or backwards. And I'm also seeing that the original mountings, these ones here, I'm never going to need them again, so I'm going to cut them off. So after much messing about, I think I've now got this piece where it needs to be. It is now supported down here with a bracket that I've made up. It's just stuck together at the moment. And another one here. Let me come in closer to these brackets so you can see what they look like. So this here was an original mounting point. I had to modify it a little bit. Added this piece, and it's just sitting on a piece of rubber here. Added a bit of flat bar down there to provide a mounting point. Now all of this is still temporary. Is that the right way? Temporary. Might have to change it, but I think we've got it more or less where it needs to be. And then I've got this rather complex bracket, which now provides a fastening point for this, which is also an original position. I had to do this funny shape to provide some clearance here for the steering column. And then yeah, this bracket is also attached to the original engine mounting. Let me show you from the other side what I mean. You can see it's bolted to the original engine mounting here, which I'm definitely not going to use again. It's too far forward. So the new engine mountings will be somewhere in this region, I would imagine. I've left this bracket long here for now. I might need that for a radiator mounting. So there's still a work in progress. So this line here is kind of a grey area at the moment. I've just guessed it at the moment, but it might have to change because it needs to line up with the cab once the hood goes on. So I've left this bracket a little bit longer so that I could move this point up or down if required.
So I'm going to put my fender back on here for the 100th time. Just to make sure that it's going to line up and that the wheel arches now finally work out. Which is going to be a bit of a fight, but we'll win. Something like that. I just need to get in there now to get the bolts in. Who said it was going to be easy? Well, I've got it roughly bolted in place. I might have to fine tune it a little bit, move it fore and aft, because those mounting holes are slotted. And then we can put the wheel on and see if it's all finally working out. Let me get this wheel on here so we can see what it's going to look like. Okay, so this is all still very floppy, but it kind of looks like it's going to be working. I think we pretty much got the wheel where it needs to be, within the wheel arch. Yeah. So this whole fender is still quite floppy, but I guess that it will be sitting around there somewhere. And then it looks like the wheel is pretty much in the center of this arch here. That's where I estimate to be the position that should line up with the axle. So I think we're pretty damn close. It's got a big gap here at the moment because I'm on jack stands. So obviously when I drop it back down, the wheel will move up. Or the fender will move down to close up this gap. But I think we're there. So let me lower it and see what happens. Now, I can't see what you're seeing. What is it looking like? Ah, it's looking pretty damn good, man. Remember, this has to sit there somewhere. And this will probably not be ride height. Ride height will probably be a little bit up from there. I'm not sure yet. Maybe somewhere there. Or a little bit more. I don't know. We'll see down the line. And no, I'm not going to keep these rims. We will find something flash and very nice. I'm just using this for my initial planning. So you know, the hardest part of this whole business is finding the correct position for these body parts. And for me it all starts with lining up the front wheels with the wheel arches on these fenders. So obviously the positioning of that whole piece there, the grill shell with the grill fore and aft and centrally is connected to that. Now that I've got this more or less in place, this is going to determine where the cab will mount. So my next step is going to have to be to get the cab in here and get that in place to see where it needs to sit. And then I can start looking at mounting brackets for the cab. And all of this is just to find a position for these parts. And once I've actually got that, I'm going to have to take it all apart again to do some further work on the frame. But yeah, one step at a time, eh? I mean, how does a mouse eat the elephant? One tiny bite at a time. Oh, and by the way, I had a visit from the safety inspectors who insisted on some signage. So now I've got a sign demarcating the staff restroom area. So whilst no parking is allowed in here, this area has been approved as a safe smoking area, be that for cigarettes, cigars, or cutting torches and smoking red hot metal. So yeah, there we have the open wheel look. But man, that's not even an option. For me, the fenders is really what makes the aesthetics of this Hudson. So they definitely gonna be in place. It's gonna be a real bitch to work on that steering box with the fender in place. But that is what it is, man. Almost done, man. All we need now is a cab and an engine. Listen, so I've got the bonnet or the hood just resting on top here. It's hanging off of the roof in the back, so I can just get a feel for things. But I'm seeing a problem. So if you look at it from dead ahead, you can see something is skew. This point is actually lower than the one on the other side. So there needs to be some adjustment. Those brackets that I made allows me for movement like this. So I'm going to have to go to the brackets and drill a new hole or reclamp it to just get this to sit level. And if you look at it from down here, this fender on this side is also higher off the ground than the one on that side. If you look carefully in here, you can even see there's more of the frame sticking out. So yes, it looks like this whole grill shell needs to be adjusted. Needs to drop down on this side or be lifted on that side. So that means I'm going to have to take this whole thing apart again. So we got Shrek to come and move the Hudson cab closer to the operating room.
Yeah,
ICU.
ICU for fit.
mean, Wayne is still eating his breakfast. What the hell?
Morning, guys. Almost awake.
Well, I mean, you were awake enough to help with moving the cab. Thanks very much.
Cool.
First, step one.
Step one of many.
Cut. Okay. Right. There we go. Yeah, ready for cutting to pieces. And she's in. Good one.
Let's see.